Right, we're going to get started here. Welcome to the TC Group demo room. My name's Ivan Schwartz. I'm the Western Regional Sales Manager for TC Group. Going to be specifically talking about new products from Tannoy and Lab Groupin today. I'm going to be talking about the speakers that are over your head there, the new CMS 3.0 series. Now, ceiling speakers are what brought Tannoy into the install marketplace to begin with. Essentially, we were primarily a studio monitor and residential speaker manufacturer years ago. And in fact, if you don't know the history of Tannoy, for example, all of the Beatles albums like Let It Be and such were all mixed and mastered on Tannoy speakers, the standard studio monitor for many years, and still for a lot of people is the standard. But what we did was essentially take our smaller studio monitor drivers and put them into ceiling speakers. This was about 20 plus years ago, and the rest is history. We ended up in a lot of prestigious installs. Vegas is the perfect example. We're in Bellagio, the Wynn, Venetian, a lot of the highest end properties. Typically, Tannoy ceiling speakers were considered the finest ceiling speaker in the marketplace. That being said, there's always room for improvement, and we've ended up doing some major improvements this time. In the past, what we've done is repackaged essentially the same old drivers. And so, well, when was it? 2006 was our last repackaging, made it easier to order, easier to specify the product, including all the bits and pieces in the box. But it was still the same driver, essentially. So it sounded very much the same as the first products we came out with in the 90s. But we've done a lot of research on improving the products, new materials, new magnet structures, that sort of things. And we've ended up wanting to improve one major thing in terms of performance, and that is the high-frequency directivity. Typically, most ceiling speakers, all ceiling speakers, essentially beam. The higher the frequency is, the tighter the pattern. And what that results in is when you walk under the speaker, it's very bright, and you walk away and it sounds dull. Ideally, you want a very immersive environment so that wherever you go in a properly designed ceiling system, it's all going to sound the same. And Tannoy is known for doing that better than anyone else, but we felt there was a lot of room for improvement there. So that was our major design goal as far as the transducer went. But then we saw some opportunities for repackaging as well to make it more architect-friendly and more consultant-friendly. So this is the current, before 3.0, the current dual concentric driver. If you were to look at an old 1950s or even a little earlier Tannoy studio monitor and cut the driver in half, it would look remarkably like this. Not a lot of changes over the decades. We have made a smaller high-frequency driver here using neodymium alloy magnet structures, but essentially you've got a high-frequency device firing through a low-frequency device. And one of the limitations we had on getting better high-frequency control was that we had to shoot it all the way through this magnet structure. If you notice, these walls, they're not parallel, but we have to wait quite a bit before we can expand out or flare out the waveguide to where we can control the high frequencies. This in the middle is a phase plug, and its job is at the very highest frequencies is to keep that energy going through the waveguide so that we can direct those very high frequencies to a wider pattern. So here's our high frequency diaphragm. Here's the low frequency cone and voice coil up here. As you can see, there's a little bit of spacing between the two, and that gives you a slight amount of delay between the devices. So that's something else that we'd like to do, is reduce that amount of delay. And as I mentioned, this is the first real redesign of this device in more than 2 decades. And here is the new dual concentric driver. So now we're using one common magnet for everything, the high and low frequency devices. And we're integrating the high-frequency device much closer to the low-frequency device. Here's the diaphragm. Here's the little voice coil there. Here's the low-frequency voice coil. So our alignment is much closer, but most importantly, we're able to instantly begin expanding that flare of the waveguide, and so we can get those high frequencies to start opening up and start steering them out into our desired coverage pattern. So I can talk about the technicalities all I want, but what's it really mean in the real world? If we look at the existing device, this is a CMS 801 DC, our current product. This is the on-axis frequency response. So this is what it sounds like if you stand underneath it, directly underneath the speaker. This is the off-axis frequency response. This is at 45 degrees off-axis, approximately, probably about where I am in relation to those speakers. 45 on one side, 45 on the other side. That gives you your total of 90 degrees of conical coverage. And ideally, what we want here is a reduction of level. You want an overlap zone, essentially, to where the next speaker picks up. But you ideally would like this same frequency response off axis. Well, ours does pretty well up to about 5K, and then it starts getting quite different than the on-axis response. So that we say our 90-degree pattern holds to 5 kilohertz. Now, this is really important because a lot of companies just vaguely say it's a 90-degree device, it's a 120-degree device, whatever it is. You really have to look at these graphs to see what's going on, because there is no real industry standard for someone to say what determines a 90-degree versus 100-degree device. This device is 180 degrees at lower frequencies, but we're not going to call it that. Typically, our specification talks about 1K to 5K as being the directivity pattern, 90 degrees. So we see a lot of room for improvement here. And again, this is currently a class-leading device. Well, our new driver now takes that. Not only does it flatten out the on-axis response, but the off-axis response is now to beyond 17 kilohertz. So we are maintaining 90-degree pattern control past 17 kilohertz. No other manufacturer even comes close to doing this. Additionally, the delay on the existing device is 170 microseconds. That's not much. That's a very small amount of time, but it means that when you're listening to a piano note being reproduced, that around crossover, that low-frequency driver is emanating information, and that high-frequency driver is going to be 170 microseconds behind it. Now, the current Tannoy product is considered very open and natural sounding. What happens if that delay is too long is you get smearing in the sound. And so what we want to do is minimize this as much as possible. In the new device, we go from 170 microseconds all the way down to 60 microseconds. So we've taken it down a third of the previous amount of time delay. So we're really starting to approach an ideal transducer where everything across the operating bandwidth of the device has the same arrival time. So this is a very impressive increase in specifications. But what's it all mean? Well, essentially what you're gaining with the larger devices is more low-frequency capability, extended bass response, and output capability, just the overall sound pressure level. Again, we're listening to them low impedance, high pass, 35 hertz, but no processing, no EQ. That's just how the speaker sounds. So we've got a wider high-frequency coverage, now past 17 kilohertz in terms of maintaining directivity to over 90 degrees. We've got the better alignment of the devices for better just sound quality in general, better transient detail. We actually improved our low-frequency response, too. We found that the old, deeper waveguide had some resonances occurring in it coming off the low-frequency cone, and that's gone away. So we got a benefit to the low-frequency response as well. Mechanically, we've changed out the can in terms of we have a new baffle design on it. It's smoother, it's rounder, it has magnets in it to hold on the grill. In the past, our grills have been basically a snap-in fit, which is fine until you need to change a tap setting or something, and then it would take a little work to get the grill out, especially without damaging it. And all the mechanically fit grills tend to have this problem. So we went to a magnetically based grill that also gives us the option for another optional grill, the Arco grill that I'll talk about in a minute. We have also increased the clamping range of the device. So we see a lot of different types of ceiling materials out there, thinner materials now like metal ceilings, and we also have much thicker tiles or people layering wood slat onto drywall, that sort of thing. So we can now clamp beyond 2¼ inches all the way down to less than 1/4 inch. So we have a much greater range of clamping ability for installing the product. And lastly, we've incorporated 16 ohm drivers. These all come with transformers, but they have a low impedance position. Previously, they were 8 ohm devices. Now they're 16 ohms, so you can parallel more of them. This is the grill that comes standard with the unit. It's what we call the classic grill. It looks just like the previous products. But as you can see, we've got these little magnets here, and that's what holds in the grill. So it's a lot easier to remove the classic grill. But this year we're introducing what we call the Arco grill. It comes in 3 sizes. It covers up the entire bezel of the speaker. And what it provides is a very narrow, very thin bezel here. And it gives you the ability, if you want to paint the grill to match the ceiling, all you have to do is paint this grill and put it up there. You don't have to paint the bezel of the speaker, paint the grill, install it, put that up, hope you don't scratch the paint and all that stuff. So this makes it a lot easier to color match your grills for a ceiling install and gives you a smoother appearance. So again, this is an option. As far as the new model lineup goes, we'll have the 3 models that you've listened to, the 5s, the 6, and the 8. They're all available in either the blind mount, which is the fixed backhand, or the pre-install version. That has the separate backhand. Traditionally, those are used in larger new construction. A lot of times, especially when the electrical contractor's doing all the conduit runs, and they put in the backhand, and then you come in and put the speakers in. So they're available in both designs. We have the 403 DC. This is our little aimable eyeball speaker that's going to have the new driver design in it. And then 2 brand new models, a CMS 803 DCQ. This is a 70-degree instead of 90-degree. It's a conical 70-degree device, and it's designed for higher ceilings. And it's really designed to bridge the gap between our 8-inch device here and our larger 12-inch ceiling speaker. The 12s are commonly used in places like the main convention center where they're up at 35 or 40 feet. But we see a need in between there for, say, hotel ballrooms and smaller convention centers, that sort of thing, for a high-Q device that isn't as expensive or require as much installation labor as the large 12-inch devices. And very exciting new product, CMS 503 DCLP. This is a low-profile device. What we do is take the 5-inch speaker, we put in the 6-inch baffle, and reduce the can depth to less than 4 inches. So this can be used in areas where you have clearance issues in the ceiling, or old buildings which have very shallow ceilings in them. So a lot of different applications for that. Particularly exciting because we'll be the only premium low-profile speaker on the marketplace. Everybody else has kind of just average quality product. Here you'll be able to get the best low-profile system on the market. Additionally, we're taking our ICT drivers, the inductively coupled technology devices, and we're making them available in the 403, 503, 603 with the new grill and baffle assembly. And we have a new 603 life safety version. I'll talk a little more about that in a minute. And the low profile version I just mentioned will be available with ICT. So that'll be a lower cost unit with all the advantages of ICT. The ICT drivers are very robust. They provide excellent background music capability and paging. It is a true point source driver like a dual concentric, but they come in at a lower cost. And typically they're used in applications with higher ambient noise like transportation centers and chain restaurants and things like that. So these devices will have our UL 1480 2043 listings, just like the current product line, but very importantly, that CMS 603 LS, the life safety version, will be UL 1480 UUMW approved. If you're not familiar with that, it is a signaling device approval. What this means is in voice evac mass notification systems, the speaker will be allowed per NFPA 72 to be used as part of the fire alarm system for the tone signaling. So you get away from those little red 4-inch speakers that go in the dual gang boxes that sound so great for paging, and go to a real speaker system that's capable of also reproducing the alarm tones. And products will come with the typical items. We'll still have the paint mask, C-ring, tile bridge, etc., packaged as the current product lineup is. But we will have optional the Arco grill, the larger paintable grill, available as well. Now, I mentioned the 16 ohm devices. We used to be 8 ohms. Now we're going to 16 ohms on all of our ceiling product. The idea there is you can parallel more of them, and specifically our lab group and Lucia amplifier will produce full output from anywhere from an 8 ohm load all the way down to a 2 ohm load, and it's completely stable at 2 ohms. You can operate at 24/7 2 ohms, and it's happy as can be. So you can put up to 8 per channel of our new devices on it, and you can run them low impedance, which gives you a tighter, punchier bass, and also you're not limited at that point by the transformer wattage. For example, you can use any of these and use them up to their full low impedance capability and put them on an E-series, or for that matter even our high power D-series or C-series amplifiers. So it enables you to use more of them in parallel in low impedance applications. If you're not familiar with Lucia, it comes in 2 power levels, 60 watts a channel, 120 watts a channel. They're all low impedance design. Again, they'll operate full output power anywhere between an 8 ohm load and a 2 ohm load. We have 2 different versions of each. There's a simple basic amplifier version, and then there's an M version. It has a 4x4 matrix, and it has user addressable DSP in it. And in those models, we have ADLC available. This is not just a simple loudness contouring circuit. It actually is an algorithm from our TC Electronic Finalizer, which is a mastering unit, and it gives you a compression expansion algorithm based on program information coming in. And it really is a quick way to get great sounding background music just by pushing a button or selecting a DSP setting on the user addressable DSP. We also have presets for all of our Tannoy drivers, and there are generic presets available for subwoofers, for example. And you can also pull up your own filter set and have a 4-band EQ within the DSP to adjust everything. And that DSP is also available on the matrix outputs as well. So a really versatile unit. These are all ENERGY STAR 3.0 qualified, just like the E-Series rack mount amps. The E-Series also handles 70 volt and low impedance, individually switchable per channel. And we have a range of accessories for Lucia, including remote volume controls and it's actually a preset select switch. You can select source, but you can also change presets and such with it too. So a lot of versatility for a little half-rack amp, and of course it's lab group and quality and sound quality and reliability. Timing-wise, the speakers you heard today will be available pending UL approval around October, with the other models following later into the winter and spring.